Hi everyone, I'm Fran Heeran and I head up the core networks business here at Nokia, and I'm delighted to be joined today on our Nokia Core Talk by Anil Pawar, who is Senior Vice President and Head of Technology, Architecture, Strategy at Rakuten Mobile. Anil, welcome.
Thanks Fran, and thanks for inviting. It's a wonderful evening here, and I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I was giving some thought to our talk beforehand, and there's so many questions you could start with. Rakuten has really made a reputation for itself in challenging, I think, the industry, both the suppliers and the customers, to kind of look at things differently and think differently. I suppose of all the questions I could ask, the obvious starting one maybe is you've launched your LTE network. You had a very particular focus on cloud and innovation in cloud. But now, of course, the focus is on moving into cloud native. What's your experience been as a web-first company in implementing the cloud native architecture in your network?
Yeah. So friend, before I answering, and I would like to, because what I feel the cloud native is a abusive. I mean, it's like in automation. The people used to do everything for automation. This is similarly the cloud native. But actually, when we started the planning for the cloud native journey, the transformation from the virtualization to the cloud native, so we thought that there are the four principles we required. Why we are going towards a cloud native? So first, right now, most of our operation team are busy in upgrading. So we would like to address this challenge via the cloud native, where in-service upgrade should be there. So that was the first one. Second, the capacity management. As an operator, right, we always look to the capacity number. What is the peak traffic going on? We would like to get away from this, and it should be done automatically. So auto scaling and the things we required from that perspective. So these are the few fundamental why we went from journey from virtualization to the cloud native. And although it is not easy, we know that it is going to be challenges, and we face those challenges. So first of all, when we went from virtualization to the cloud native, obviously, it is a big network, it is a complex network. Everyone was not ready for the CNF. So that was the first. Okay, somebody said, no, I am not ready. My roadmap is this, right? So we have to operate multiple the platform. We have to operate on the OpenStack platform. We have to operate on the Kubernetes platform. So similarly, so VNF and CNF coexist, and this is an operational the challenge for us. Second, what we found is that there is no demarcation between the application layer and the infrastructure layer. Application expect, everything has to be provided by the infra, which is a cloud the layer. So that's where the operational challenges we faced from that perspective. Second, and the third, of course, since the cloud native is a small microservices based, the decomposition, so security became a huge challenge. I mean, then the big service been decomposed into the smaller services, and it is all software driven architecture, all platform. So security became a huge challenge for us. And finally, of course, this is not possible without an organization and the skill set of organization, because the speed at which the technology moves from virtualization to the cloud native is very fast. And we find that the skill, the organization is critical, and that is not up to the mark or up to the pace of the technology change. So these are the typical challenges.
Top four.
Yeah.
Just a couple of maybe questions as well, or follow-on questions on that. It's interesting, and you were one of the customers, and for quite a while we got pushed very hard by our customers to be cloud native.
Yeah.
And a lot of work went in Nokia across all of the core portfolio in getting to that point. And then we got to that point and realized that a significant portion of our customers also weren't ready to take it. So it's an interesting dynamic between the vendors having gone through that journey and some not being ready. but also what we're seeing is the customers moving at very different speeds as well, and kind of that transition from VNF to CNF is kind of where we're at right now. Interesting on the in-service upgrades, I'd like to get your thinking, because I think there's a misconception among many in the business that in-service upgrades is the holy grail. It's going to save us. What we're seeing is, in many cases, it takes longer. What it does give you is more resiliency during the upgrade process. And I guess the general question is, all these technologies, the cloud nativeness, the ISSU and thing, do you think it's fulfilling the expectations? Is it living up to what we thought it would be?
Not completely. It is fulfilling, because we feel that everyone say it is an in-service upgrade, but actually it is not, right? We face the challenges. We say it is a canary upgrade. No one is supporting, to be very frank, right now.
Yep.
So we are in that path. Of course, we have addressed few challenges, but we are moving in that direction. And we knew, because we were the first one to move towards a web-based architecture for the telco to migrate. We knew these challenges will be there. So we are preparing. We are preparing. We are transforming the current the organization, the teams to be ready for this new skill set. So few are addressed. We know that few going to be addressed. Right now it is not being addressed, but we are in a close collaboration with the open source community. So we know that the things have been addressed in the IT world. It is going to be addressed here.
Okay, sure. Understood.
So we are very optimistic. Rakuten being a name itself is optimism.
By definition, you're optimistic.
Yeah, by definition, we are.
Indeed.
So friend, I mean, we know that we are facing the challenge. What about the rest of the industry? Since Nokia, you are interacting with the multi-country, multi-regional, right? So what is the trend in the industry, and how they are addressing these challenges?
It's a really good question that could take a long time to answer. And it's interesting because for us as a supplier, we obviously see things through a slightly different lens. As you said, all regions, all customers. I think one of our biggest challenges, and it's not just limited to us, I think it's, as an industry, is the amount of variation we see across networks. So on one hand, I think it's fantastic for companies like yourself. There's so much more choice today than there was, even 5 years ago, in terms of infrastructure options, not just the hardware, but now also the cloud stacks that sit on top of that hardware. And over the last few years, there's been an explosion, if that's the right term to use, of choice. So, and of course, all of our customers make their choices. Many of them make quite different choices, but then expect us to put our portfolios across the company into these, continually evolving and quite different architectures. And of course, now we have the emergence of the hyperscale, the web scale companies, the Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and others coming in. That's even more choice. So that's kind of one challenge. And as a company, we saw that challenge, beginning to come to light a number of years ago, and a lot of work has gone in on our side in the portfolio to get ready for it, right? To be truly multi-cloud, or any cloud, as we say. And I think then, lastly, I suppose, or finally on that question, we're also going through another transition, which is the virtual to the cloud native, right? Yeah. Back to the conversation on that. And that's another, I guess, axis to look at things, which is, okay, there's all the infrastructure variation, but now we've also got to maintain, virtualized and now also cloud native. And in most of our customers now, because of the transition plans and the transformations, the networks are hybrid networks. Some of it's virtual, some of it's cloud native, and even hybrid in the sense of some of it could be using an external cloud and some of it an internal cloud. So that's the landscape we're playing in. I think we do an excellent job at Nokia, obviously, of doing that. It's been a focus area for us for a number of years. But it's, I'd say it's both a pain point and an opportunity, and not just for us, I think, for all of us in the industry.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I suppose the next question, it's the transition, and on the topic of moving from virtual to cloud native. We're going from 4G to 5G. We're going from 5G non-standalone to 5G standalone, and beginning to talk about the services that would leverage 5G. How's that transition going for you in Rakuten? And I guess from an operations point of view, back to what you were saying about the team, and also from a business strategy perspective as well.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, whenever new transition going on, it is challenging. Like not only we are going from 4G to 5G NSA, and 5G NSA to the 5G SC we are planning. So this is I mean, when we operating the 4G with such a wide area, right? And now we are adding the 5G NSA, and we already deployed this 5G NSA. So what we feel, I mean, what we face during this transition journey is one of the biggest is the system integration. Now, because in the 5G, the number of the nodes are increasing as the complexity is increasing. So integration became a challenge, right? And from the delivery perspective, as well as from the operate perspective. So as the number of nodes are increasing rapidly in 5G as we grow. Another typical challenge we faced, maybe other operator might be facing, is that during this 4G to 5G NSA, we faced a traffic mismatch. I mean, new traffic kind of, like the handover. It started handover, huge, the handover, the traffic started. Because we have a patchy coverage of 5G, and the 4G obviously is there. So there is a 4G to 5G handover, 5G to 4G, again the handover, and we seize the data stall issue, and the customer experience issue. So suddenly we feel that, okay, we were planning the traffic in that way, but actually there is another unknown traffic coming, and that created a recalculation of our network optimization again. So we need to send our complete drive teams, right, to do the drive test, right, to measure the KPI, because there was a KPI changes were happening because of this.
Will that be a continual challenge for you, or is that settled down now?
No, it will be settled down as we are as we face challenge. We know, okay, these are the issue we are fixing, right?
Yeah.
Like handover, it is addressable. We have addressed it, but we faced, right, because we didn't know about this, right? We didn't expect those challenges. And the capacity and dimensioning changes, right? And because the traffic which was carrying on the 4G, suddenly some traffic is moving on the 5G. So the mix and the match of the 4G and the 5G traffic, it created a different dimensioning the thing. So that created the realignment of the network architecture. From you can understand, right?
Yes.
And now suddenly, I mean, it is not a it's hardly 1 year we have launched 5G NSA, and now we are moving towards an 5G SA. This is another transition we are planning, right? How do we go towards an SA part? So all of this, what we feel is our operation team facing, and of course, and operating and maintaining and upgrading, right, of this mix and match of the network during this transition is a thing.
Yeah, and you aren't alone, I can say. I mean, we've seen that same conversation around traffic, expectation management, and changing traffic patterns, particularly with the 5G architecture, being noisier, I guess, is that the right term to use?
Yeah.
It's a continued challenge in deployment for sure.
Yeah. And handover issues, we face a lot of handover issues. And because the coverage is less initially, so a lot of handover happen, and the customer start complaining, right? So this was, we didn't expect that much issue. So that operation teams had a huge challenge. From the business perspective, what we feel for the 5G perspective, right? Although you know that for the 5G as an operator, we are searching for the right monetization, right? And we are invested heavily in the 5G, but monetization is not going as we are not finding that particular killer app from the business perspective. So although
you mentioned slicing earlier, have you launched slicing, and what are the services you'd be thinking about launching on slicing? So
5G SA we are going to launch next year, and that is where what we feel the 5G is not a B2C game. It is B2B more as an enterprise or as a business game. So this is where we are expecting that, okay, we need to focus more on the B2B, the enterprise segment, And I feel in Japan, because it is a manufacturing base, yeah, and there are a lot of the customer coming for this demand. So both from the slicing as well as from the campus deployment, there is a mix and match the requirement coming from the end customer. So I think the business is changing with the 5G, and we also see that the revenue models are changing, and revenue stream is not more towards B2C. It is more as a B2B game.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So in this context, Fran, how do you think that how Nokia can help us in this transition? And we presented our challenges to you, and how do you see that? How can Nokia address these challenges to us, or maybe the multiple CSPs?
Yeah, and it's I suppose we all look at this through kind of slightly different lenses. But I think I'll go back to my point. Every one of our customers is different, and I think with that increase in choice that I talked about earlier, this is just going to continue. It's a fact of life in the industry, and choice is great, in these cases, and also. Very few of our customers would be greenfield, right? So they're coming from a point of a previous generation of technology, previous network architecture. So first of all, dealing with that, and I think a lot of the work we've done is recognizing that, there's going to be this choice. How do we best design both the products and the services that go with that to accommodate that choice, right? And be able to deploy across these wide range of options that our customers, including yourselves, have. And also, you talked about some of the complexity and some of the increase in complexity. There's an interesting dynamic, which is on one end of the spectrum, particularly with portfolios, say like packet core, for example, in 5G SA, to disaggregate that portfolio and allow the individual elements to be deployed anywhere in the network, right? Particularly now with the emergence of edge and far edge and so on. But on the other hand, I think, and this is maybe to your question about how we're helping, there's also a push to simplify. Yeah. So on the voice part of the portfolio, IMS, which I think everyone knows is a little bit complex. That's the nature of it. We've been doing a lot of work with our customers to simplify the voice. That was our recent launch this year of our CNCS product. So it's an interesting kind of scale, right? Disaggregate on one end of the scale and simplify on the other. And then on top of that, I think a few key things. One is automation, a dramatically overused term in the industry, but it pretty much captures everything. And it's at all layers in the network. And I think we all know we can keep doing more in this respect. But certainly as we move towards as a service, as we look at the web scale clouds as well, the need for and the demand for automation end-to-end is key. I think a lot of work has been done there to just take the manual steps out of the equation. It doesn't really work. 5G, cloud, and the kind of flexibility we need around things like slicing won't work without that. And then I suppose the delivery model is changing. We are seeing, the DevOps concept that started in the IT world is now very much on the network side. It's a little bit more challenging in our industry, I think, because because all the customers tend to be slightly different or quite different in many cases, delivering in a very frequent automated way into all of these different environments has presented some interesting challenges, and a lot of work again on the Nokia portfolio has gone into allowing us to do work with our customers, provide much more frequent updates, into your pre-production, into your network. And that has a number of benefits. One is being able to evolve the network faster, but also being able to test earlier and give feedback to us as well is key. So CI/CD DevOps, we call it DevOps here at Nokia, delivery operations, but recognizing that it's from a supplier into quite a wide range of different environment types has been a particular focus for us. And then lastly, SaaS as a service. I mentioned it earlier. It's going to be a major step for us. We'll be announcing more about that later on this year, early next year, around offering the core as a service, right? So in that context, the time to create the core and launch the core, is dramatically reduced into minutes effectively. I think the addition of as a service into the industry is going to be key, and we want to be the ones driving that as well.
And in fact, one more point I want to add. Like in the multi-cloud environment for the 5G specifically, the full stack visibility is a challenge. That we need to solve here.
Because in a multi-vendor scenario.
Yeah, multi-vendor scenario, multi-cloud scenario, right? Because everyone is talking about their own layer, right? So full stack visibility is missed out where we had this visibility earlier.
So maybe no, I would agree. It is a challenge. I know you've been very vocal actually as an organization and yourselves in the tooling required and the operations required to manage that. And I think a lot of work has been done. Great work has been done on your side in that respect. Maybe changing topics a little bit. Yeah. One of the big questions that is on a lot of our customers' minds is 5G. We have the different flavors: non-standalone, standalone. A lot of what we're doing right now with customers globally is on standalone. But one of the most common questions we get asked, and I'd love to hear how you address it, is standalone core, 5G SA core. It is the main driver now in terms of the data part of our business. What do you see in Rakuten as being the benefits of that, and what do you expect to do with the standalone core now that you've got it up and running?
No, as we discussed that the real, we feel that the 5G real benefit will, or maybe we'll say the true 5G will come with the 5G SA, where we feel as operators the revenue streams are there. So like the industrial 4.0, the move, right, as all over the world is talking about, and we are seeing in like a lot of focus in the industries towards an operational efficiency is going on. Like in Japan, typically, as you know, that the car manufacturing, the huge things are moving towards that industrial 4.0 movement, and we have seen a particular. At least in the Japan, we see that customer demand to us, and the second the motivation factor for us to go towards the 5G SA is low latency. So why low latency? Because Japan, we have seen the gaming is number one addiction, and wherever we are going, whether in the car, metro, or in the public transport, we see the people are on the mobile and playing the game. Yeah, and I think Japan is number one in the gaming industry. There is online gaming is a good business case for us, and that will be sufficed by the low latency requirement. We require a 1 to 4 millisecond interaction. The online gamer interact with that. And of course the massive MIMO, because now the factory is automating, a lot of sensor they are putting, right, and there is the IoT devices are increasing rapidly, and how to cater that, I think the 5G SA will answer. And of course on the voice part, right, as we discussed that there is innovation is happening on the voice part, the 5G VoNR, right, and this is where we are expecting the good quality of a voice. In fact, we have seen that there is a new feature is coming. It is IMS DN, right, data channel. So within the voice, the new data channel can be integrated, and which will enrich the voice. So voice transformation will be the key thing. And of course, the network slice. This is where we are pushing via network slice. We can cater to the multiple enterprises. Although we are facing the regulatory the challenge there because of net neutrality. Yeah. So the regulator is asking. So we are convincing. Okay, the technology is changing, and that is where the movement is going on.
It's interesting on slicing. Just to maybe on that topic. It's interesting that we see the different use cases around the world, right? Different regions have different plans or see uses for slicing, and it's interesting. Some regions, gaming you just mentioned earlier, is very popular in some territories, and then other territories it's more of an industrial focus. So there is no kind of one size fits all in that respect.
Yes. Yeah, of course. And we see that there is a different trend. Like in India is a different, and Japan is a different, Europe and US market, right? So this is where we feel that the 5G SA will be the benefit to us.
Great.
So another, I think, Fran, in that case, in the 5G SA, how Nokia will support us, And I think that we are going towards the complete core migration with the Nokia.
I think this is particularly important for us as a company, which is we're one of the few companies I think that has, one of the very few that has the full end-to-end portfolio, and something that we're very, very proud of. So packet core, voice core, subscriber data management, even the cloud infrastructure. But at the same time, we're also very aware of the fact that different customers will in some cases take all of it, in other cases they'll take pieces of it. But one of the key things for us is openness, and while we're able to provide the full end-to-end solution, in making sure that what we do supply and the elements that you do choose from us, obviously we're hoping it's as many as possible, are open, interoperable with third parties, and recognize the fact that the environments that you're building, the tooling you're building, in many cases set you apart from the competition. But we have to support that, and I think we are probably best positioned in the industry. Now I'm biased obviously in saying that. Again, it's supporting that range of environment types. So I think that openness, that willingness to work with a lot of variation and not try and sell a very prescribed solution, I think those days are over. It doesn't work anymore in the industry. I think that goes very well with your strategy at Rakuten, which is that those open architectures, very much a multi-vendor scenario. So I think that is one of our key differentiators that we don't see with many others. So yeah.
Thanks. But it's an interesting conversation, Fran, and we love to talk on the technology. So what do you think? I mean, next 3 years, where would be moving in this industry?
It's a good question, and actually, it's a good time frame, because if anything, we've learned it's great to have 5-10-year plans, but the industry is changing now so rapidly.
Yes, very, very rapidly. You see that virtualization to the cloud native is very fast. We didn't realize the full potential of virtualization. We moved towards
yeah, and even with that, it took us a long time as an industry to get virtualization established. Yeah. Then along came cloud native, and as you said, probably none of us had fully realized the supposed benefits of virtualization, and now here we are.
Yeah, we also feel the same. Yeah.
Now we have the cloud variations as well. If I look ahead, take your 3-year time frame. I think now that 5G SA is kind of going mainstream, and you talked about some of the benefits, I think we'll begin to see the applications emerge, probably different on a per regional basis like we talked about, that actually begins to take advantage of the standalone core. You'll see 3G networks being shut down around the world. 2G, interestingly enough, seems to be surviving long into the future. So as our customers close down 3G and in some cases even 4G networks, 2G is still there as kind of the ultimate fallback and for certain use cases. I think you'll see enterprise becoming increasingly important for 5G, for our customers as well, like yourself. So the private wireless space, whether it's campus wireless or the larger wide area networks, I think are going to be popular. Certainly an important focus for us here at Nokia. 6G, I hate to say it, but we'll be talking about 6G in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
6G, I think the time frame people are setting is around 2030. It may happen sooner, but getting ready for that, and that's really important for us. Is yes, helping the customers through 5G Advanced, but making sure we're best placed on 6G, which will happen over the next probably 5-8 years, depending on your time frame. I think we probably know more about the role of the public clouds.
Yeah.
I think they're in our industry now. It's another important set of options for you as a customer. We'll be launching our software as a service offering later on this year, which will leverage the public cloud as well. And I think what we'll see in 3 years' time is going to be a lot more clarity about what workloads, what locations in terms of both cloud and physical best suit what workloads on the network. I think now there's a lot of debate.
Right.
And in getting ready for 6G and the expectations of 6G, that'll be a very important discussion. So that'll be kind of my 3-year horizon: enterprise, SaaS, kind of applications taking advantage of the SA core, 6G, and then we'll, I think, truly understand where all the different cloud options sit as well. So I guess question back to you on that topic. Slightly longer time frame. because you probably can have the luxury of that from where you're sitting. From the next maybe 5 to 10 years, what do you see happening, I suppose, both in the industry, but also maybe more close to home with yourselves at Rakuten?
Yeah. And you look, in the technology is is changing very fast. I think, so every 2 years, 3 years, the technology is changing fast, right? What we feel that the cloud will be a seamless journey. I mean, in terms of a hybrid, in terms of a multi-cloud. And right now we face we see the lot of challenges in terms of the binding of a hardware to the software to the application. I think this should go. It will be like as a public cloud. That is what we are thinking, that okay, get the new app of IMS, deploy on the cloud, and it's work. Yeah. So that we envisage that we will go in that direction. Second, as we are moving towards a cloud, it is all moving towards an IT, as a software-driven operation. So, in fact, we are putting in a effort into the how do we do the extreme automation to do the autonomous operation. So we have a target of going towards an L4 automation. So fully auto is kind of a autopilot mode. The operation in an autopilot mode, taking an advantage of softwareization and the IT, where we are moving in a 5G world, in the cloud native world. So we feel that this will be the major transformation happen for the operator to ease the running the operation, right? And one click, really we would like to get a one click.
And I suppose maybe it's easier for yourselves in the position you're coming from as a relatively new entrance. So you have kind of that advantage of starting a cleaner starting point, I suppose. Some of the challenges we've seen on the automation side has been actually the human element in pushing back on some elements of automation. So you're confident you can get that level of extreme automation, as you said, into your operations.
One good part in Rakuten that our organization is more as a software engineer organization. So rather than a telco, it's more 80 to 90% the software people. They are running the telco operation. So we will continue to invest into the software journey, and we will keep upskilling our people, existing telco people, towards an softwareization. So this is where we think in fact in the conference also, everything is moving around the cloud, right? Whether it is a DevOps, whether it is a multi-cloud, whether it is a multi-vendor, right? Everything is moving towards a platform, as a cloud platform. So I think software is a key, and we have designed our organization around software. So we have a firm belief in where we are moving and what we want to get there.
Great. I have to ask you the question, network versus IT. It's been a debate probably running for a decade or more. And it oscillates back and forth, right? Some people believe the two will converge because ultimately it's just a cloud. Others believe they are quite separate set of problems. What's your view in Rakuten and how you approach that?
So right now, in fact, that is what we want to push towards a convergence. But right now, the radio workload is different. Right? The requirement is different. The core workload requirement is different than the radio, because radio is a real-time kernel, right? And the core is a near real-time, and then the OSS BS is a IT kind of application. Yes, right now what we feel is a specific the cloud requirement is there for the workload type, but I think it will be solved as we move towards that, and that is where we want one cloud kind of the migration will be happen.
Excellent.
No, it is an interesting conversation. Really interesting. We enjoy. We respect that we have a candid information sharing on this platform.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for visiting. Hope you're enjoying Finland and the weather. And folks, thank you for watching. That concludes this Nokia Core Tech Talk. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you all soon. Anil, thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.